In this video, we're going to talk about materials in Corona for Cinema 4D. So in the previous video, we saw how we can easily create a scenario using a simple image, which is going to be like an environmental image, a spherical image that's gonna surround our object, and it's gonna create nice reflections, nice illumination, and also it's gonna give us a background, so it's gonna look really realistic. You can see here I have no lights in the objects panel, so all I'm doing here is just using a simple image. This is how it's called image-based lighting. And we also imported this car model, and we can see here that by using this car model we also imported a series of materials. Now these are all Cinema 4D materials, and we use these materials because they are reflective and they can show us the power of the HDRI and the image-based lighting. So we can see here that they look pretty good, so they work with Corona. So you can still use standard Cinema 4D materials in combination with the Corona render, but usually when you use a particular render engine, you should use its own materials and its own lights and etc, etc. So yes, you can still use Cinema 4D assets, you can still use Cinema 4D materials, you can still use Cinema 4D lights, but it is suggested that you use Corona instead of standard Cinema 4D. So this is what we're going to do in this lesson here. We're gonna start to experiment with materials. So we're going to go here now in the convert scene in the Corona menu. This is gonna try to convert elements that are not Corona. So it's converting the materials, the objects, and so on. It's trying to convert. This doesn't mean that it's gonna actually succeed in this operation, but it's gonna try. This is a step that you can do. It's an automatic step. It's an automatic process. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. And you can see here that, of course, it doesn't. Just by looking at the render here, the interactive render in the viewport, we can see that we don't have that result. But just wait a little bit, because you need to give some time to the converter to work properly. So you just need to wait a little bit in order to see if it can successfully convert the materials. And I stopped the interactive render there, and let's see here what it created. You can see here I have also, I think, some emissive material, which is another topic we're going to talk about. Okay, yeah, we can see that now the conversion, it's complete. There's still something missing there, and the glasses is kind of the glass materials are behaving a little bit strange, but we can fix that when we will know how to manage materials and parameters. We can fix everything. But this is just to show you again that you can try to do a quick conversion. So we're gonna start with really simple parameters. We can see here this is now a Corona physical material, and if we go to Corona in the materials panel, we can see we have, let's undock this. So in Corona you have physical materials, and you have shadow catcher that we used previously, and other types of materials here, like light material to create emissive material like lamps, or you have hair material, skin material, different types. But legacy material and physical material are the standard, the most important. So the legacy material, it's kind of the old way that Corona used to work. So we can click here and we can open up the material editor. We can see this, and this is the legacy and this is the physical, and you can see they look pretty similar, but they still have some differences. So substantially, standard is again the way it always worked, and physical, it's kind of Pbr which is the new way to create materials. So it is kind of more physically accurate. But we're gonna see both because they have a lot of things in common. For example, diffuse. Diffuse is the main channel, the most superficial layer of our material. And in this case, we are using a simple color. This is a really standard material. As you can see, it's kind of a gray white material. Never use the total white because that's not gonna give you white, but it's gonna give you something unreal. White, it's always kind of a light gray. And we have translucency, that it's middle way between the transparency and opacity. And also we will see here that we can use simple parameters or colors. Then we have reflections. So reflections, it's about reflecting other objects basically. And we have refraction, which is about transparency and how to create a glass, for example. So these are the basics of materials, not just in Corona, not just in the legacy material, but in any other material. And then you have opacity. Opacity, it's about having the material or not having the material. So it's kind of defining where the material is present and not present. And then we have the bump, displacement, and other channels that usually are they need a texture to be used. And then we have self-illumination. Self-illumination, again, it's a simple parameter. You can see it already. You can define a color and basically create a material that is going to illuminate the scene, just like a light, just like a lamp. Now let's go to the physical one. And again, you can see the general here. It's basically, okay, let's call this physical Pbr. And let's see what Pbr material are before actually starting, because we need a little bit of theory. Now, if we go in the images here, you will see a lot of really highly realistic materials. And again, this is because they try to replicate what happens in reality physically. And the most important software and render engine at the moment, they are looking at this type of material creation. This is why it's important, and we're going to see the basics of Pbr materials. So you can see here in the general, you don't have the color, so you kind of have an extra parameter before the base layer, which will be the standard and superficial. So right now we need to select if this is a metal or not metal. You can see this is the first choice, the first option that we need to go through, because Pbr material, they are of two types basically. They are dielectric or metallic. So the bottom line is anything that is not a metal would be a dielectric material, like glass, plastic, wood, ceramic, leather, and so on. So everything is a non-metallic material except metals. So they are good conductors of electricity and so on. So if we go here, we just need to select if this is a metal or if it is anything else. And then we have the base layer again, which is kind of a diffuse layer in the legacy material. So they just are always the same channels, but with different names. You can see here again, we have color. We have this kind of a gray color. We can change it and assign a simple parameter of RGB. So it's just the color. There you go. Now let's uncheck this in the legacy material just to show you that